Welcome to the Read Aloud for May 5th. Here we go. All right, let's see where we were. I glanced down at my hands. They were covered with smudge and mud and goodness knows what else besides. So perhaps I had a chance after all. The stink waves couldn't possibly get out through all that dirt. "Witches of England," shouted that grand high witch. She herself, I noticed, had not taken off either her wig or her gloves or her shoes. "Witches of England," she yelled. The audience stirred uneasily and sat up straighter in their chairs. "Miserable witches," she said. "Useless, lazy witches. Feeble, fibbling witches. You are a heap of idle, good-for-nothing worms." A shudder went through the audience. The Grand High Witch was clearly in an ugly mood, and they knew it. I had a feeling that something awful was going to happen soon. "I am having my breakfast this morning," cried the Grand High Witch, "and I am looking out of the window at the beach. And what am I seeing? I am asking you, what am I seeing? I am seeing revolting sight. I am seeing hundreds, I am seeing thousands of rotten, repulsive little children playing on the sand. Is it putting me right off my food? Why have you not got rid of them?" she screamed. "Why have you not rubbed them all out, these filthy, smelly children?" With each word she spoke, flecks of pale blue phlegm shot from her mouth like little bullets. "I am asking you why," she screamed. Nobody answered her question. "Children smell," she screamed. "They stink up the world. We do not want these children around here." The bald heads in the audience all nodded vigorously. "One children a week is no good to me," the Grand Witch cried out. "Is that the best you can do?" "We will do better," murmured the audience. "We will do much better." "Better is not good either," shrieked the Grand High Witch. "I demand maximum results. So here are my orders. My orders are that every single child in this country shall be rubbed out, squashed, squirted, squidded, and fritted before I come here again in 1 year's time. Do I make myself clear?" A great gasp went up from the audience. I saw the witches all looking at one another with deeply troubled expressions, and I heard one witch at the end of the front row saying aloud, "All of them? We can't possibly wipe out all of them." The Grand High Witch whipped around as though somebody had stuck a skewer in her bottom. "Who said that?" she snapped. "Who dares to argue with me? Is this you, is it not?" She pointed a gloved finger as sharp as a needle at the witch who had spoken. "I didn't mean it, your grandness," the witch cried out. "I didn't mean to argue. I was just talking to myself." "You dared argue with me?" screamed the Grand High Witch. "I was just talking to myself," cried the wretched witch. "I swear it, your grandness." She began to shake with fear. The Grand High Witch took a quick step forward, and when she spoke again, it was in a voice that made my blood run cold. "A stupid witch who answers back must burn until her bones are black," she screamed. "No, no," begged the witch in the front row. The Grand High Witch went on. "A foolish witch without a brain must sizzle in the fiery flame." "Save me," cried the wretched witch in the front row. The Grand High Witch took no notice of her. She spoke again. "An idiotic witch like you must roast upon the barbecue." Forgive me, oh your grandness," cried the miserable culprit. "I didn't mean it." But the Grand High Witch continued with her terrible recital. "A witch who dares to say I'm wrong will not be with us very long." A moment later, a stream of sparks that looked like tiny white-hot metal filings came shooting out of the Grand High Witch's eyes and flew straight towards the one who dared to speak. I saw the spark striking against her and burrowing into her, and she screamed a horrible howling scream, and a puff of smoke rose up around her. A smell of burning meat filled the room. Nobody moved. Like me, they were all watching the smoke, and when it had cleared away, the chair was empty. I caught a glimpse of something wispy white, like a little cloud fluttering upwards and disappearing out the window. A great sigh rose from the audience. The Grand High Witch glared around the room. "I hope nobody else is going to make me cross today," she remarked. There was a deathly silence. "Frizzled like a fritter," said the Grand High Witch. "Cooked like a carrot. You will never see her again. Now we can get down to business." Formula 86, Delayed Action Mouse Maker. That's the title of the next chapter. "Children are revolting," screamed the High Witch. "We will wipe them all away. We will scrub them off the face of the earth. We will flush them down the drain." "Yes, yes," chanted the audience. "Wipe them away, scrub them off the earth, flush them down the drain." "Children are foul and filthy," thundered the Grand High Witch. They are," chorused the English witches. "They are foul and filthy. Children are dirty and stinky," screamed the Grand High Witch. "Dirty and stinky," cried the audience, getting more and more worked up. "Children are smelling of dogs and droppings," screeched the Grand High Witch. "Pooh," cried the audience. "Pooh, pooh, pooh. They are worse than dog droppings," screeched the Grand High Witch. "Dog droppings is smelling like violets and primroses compared with children." "Violets and primroses," chanted the audience. They were clapping and cheering almost every word spoken from the platform. The speaker seemed to have them completely under her spell. "To talk about children is making me sick," screamed the Grand High Witch. "I am feeling sick even thinking about them. Fetch me a basin." The Grand High Witch paused and glared at the mass of eager faces in the audience. They waited, wanting more. "So now," barked the Grand High Witch, "so now I am having a plan. I have a gigantic plan for getting rid of every single child in the whole of England." The witches gasped, they gaped, they turned and gave each other ghoulish grins of excitement. "Yes," thundered the Grand High Witch, "we shall swish them and swallow them, and we shall make them disappear. Every single smelly little brat in England is one stroke." "Whoopee!" cried the witches, clapping their hands. "You are brilliant, oh your grandness, you are fantabulous." "Shut up and listen," snapped the Grand High Witch. "Listen very carefully, and let us not be having any muck-ups." The audience leaned forward, eager to learn how this magic was going to be performed. "Each and every one of you," thundered the Grand High Witch, "is going back to your hometowns immediately and resign from your jobs. Resign. Give notice. Retire." "We will," they cried. "We will resign from our jobs." "And after you have resigned from your jobs," the Grand High Witch went on, "each and every one of you will be going out and you will be buying." She paused. "What will we be buying?" they cried. "Tell us, O brilliant one. What is it we shall be buying?" "Sweet shops," shouted the Grand High Witch. "Sweet shops," they cried. "We're going to buy sweet shops. What a frumptious fees. Each of you will be buying for herself a sweet shop. You will be buying the very best and most respectable sweet shops in England." We will," they answered. The dreadful voices were like a chorus of dentist drills all grinding away together. "I am wanting no twopenny halfpenny quampity little tobacco selling newspaper sweet shop," shouted the Grand High Witch. "I am wanting you to get only the very best, filled up high with piles and piles of luscious sweets and tasty jocks." "The best," they cried. "We shall buy the best sweet shops in town. You will be having no trouble in getting what you want," shouted the Grand High Witch, "because you will be offering 4 times as much as shop is worth, and nobody is refusing an offer like that. Money is not a problem to us witches, as you know very well. I have brought with me 6 trunks full of English banknotes, all crisp and new, and all of them," she added with a fiendish leer, "all of them homemade." The witches in the audience grinned, appreciating this joke. At this point, one foolish witch got so excited at the possibilities presented by owning a sweet shop that she leapt to her feet and shouted, "The children will come flocking to my shop, and I will feed them poison sweets and poison chalks and wipe them all out like weasels." The room became suddenly silent. I saw the tiny body of the Grand High Witch stiffen and then go rigid with rage. "Who spoke?" she shrieked. "It was you over there." The culprit sat down fast and covered her face with clawed hands. "You blithering bumpkin," screeched the Grand High Witch. "You brainless bon vomper, are you not realizing that if you are going to round poisoning little children, you will be caught in 5 minutes flat? Never in my life am I hearing such a bull-flopping suggestion coming from a witch." The entire audience cowered and shook. I'm quite sure that they all thought, as I did, that the terrible white-hot sparks were about to be flying again. Curiously enough, they didn't. "If such a tomfooling idea is all you can come up with," thundered the Grand High Witch, "then it is no wonder England is still swarming with rotten little children." There was another silence. The Grand High Witch glared at the witches in the audience. "Do you know," she shouted at them, "that we witches are working only with magic?" "We know, your grandness," they all answered. "Of course we know." The Grand High Witch grated her bony gloved hand against each other and cried out, "So each of you is owning a magnificent sweet shop. The next move is that each of you will be announcing in the window of your shop that on a certain day you will be having a great gala opening with free sweets and chalks to every child. That will bring them in, the greedy little brutes," cried the audience. "They'll be fighting to get through the doors. Next," continued the Grand High Witch, "you will prepare yourself for this great gala opening by filling every chalk and every sweet in your shop with the very latest and greatest magic formula. This is known as Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker." "Delayed Action Mouse Maker," they chanted. "She's done it again. Her grandness has concocted yet another of her wondrous magic child killers. How do we make it, oh brilliant one?" "Exercise patience," answered the Grand High Witch. "First, I am explaining to you how my Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker is working. Listen carefully." "We are listening," cried the audience, who were now jumping up and down in their chairs with excitement. "Delayed Action Mouse Maker is a green liquid," explained the Grand High Witch, "and 1 droplet in each chalk or sweet will be quite enough. So here is what happens. Child eats chalk which has in Delayed Action Mouse Maker liquid. Child goes home feeling fine. Child goes to bed still feeling fine. Child wakes up in the morning still okay. Child goes to school still feeling fine. Formula, understand, is delayed action, is not working yet." "We understand, oh brainy one," cried the audience. "But when does it start working?" "Is it start working at exactly 9 o'clock when the child is arriving at school?" shouted the Grand High Witch triumphantly. "Child arrives at school, Delayed Action Mouse Maker immediately starts to work. Child starts to shrink. Child is starting to grow fur. Child is starting to grow tail. All has happened in precisely 26 seconds. After 26 seconds, child is no longer any child. It is a mouse." "A mouse," cried the witches with a frumptuous thought. And that is where we are going to stop today.